Good evening, Oral Gibbes, and welcome to Oral Gibbes Live. We're coming to you live here from World Star Studios at Amsterdam Shopping Center. And with me this evening is the leader of the National Alliance, Member of Parliament, Mr. Silveria. Gibbes. How are you doing, ma'am?
Good evening, and good evening to you, Oral, and to all of your viewers. It's great to be back. I know many people don't have cable as yet, myself included, but for those that have cable, I'm sure they're happy to have the program back.
Well, it's good to thank you for accepting the invitation, and good to have you back, because now you are the leader of the National Alliance, a party that's been around the longest since after the Democratic Party. The National Alliance is the longest political party in Somalia, right? So how has it been now? You assumed the leadership. You took part in the February 26th parliamentary election, and you have 5 seats in Parliament. Mm-hmm. Are you disappointed to see that a government is being formed and you're not in government?
Well, Oral, you asked like several questions. I think I'll start at the beginning.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, having taken over the leadership of the party right before the elections, did prove to be quite hectic, though it was something we had in place that we would be doing as of June 2018, because every 2 years we have those congresses that determines change in leadership, board, and all of that. Over the past years, the former leader has been pushing me towards that, and we announced it in 2014. So it actually should have happened in 2016, but I didn't feel quite ready. I was ill as well, and I didn't want to take on any extra pressure, as you would say. But 2018 would have been it, June, and after we were going into a new election again, we decided we'd do it early. So we had an extraordinary Congress on January 3rd, and by acclaim, the membership voted for me to be its leader, the leader of the party, and the members, the candidates, we'd been working along. So since 2016 or so, or even after 2014, a lot of responsibilities were coming my way, but I really shied away from the real responsibility, and I shied away for many reasons, because I see how politicians are treated regardless to how well they work, and sometimes it's like you feel like you're getting a hard kick at times. I wasn't sure I was cut out for this world, but the people, I said to them, I said, if you give me the votes, I have to live up to it, and I did. So I'm a person of my word, and I promised the people that I would take over, because they were asking me back when I had 300 and something votes, and I was like, no. And then the following election, I had 9 something, and so I was like, okay, that looks like they really want it. So we were working towards that, and now it's here, and it is a lot of responsibility, a lot more than many people would understand. And I must say that the example that the former leader has set for me, and if I ask questions, if I need assistance, he's there. But he has really been totally hands-off with the leadership, and really left it up to me. And I must say, it was scary initially, because you're going right into an election, and it's like you had 5 seats. It's a tumultuous time, and the heavy negative publicity all around him as well, that the opposition at the time did just after the hurricane. It was really, I find an injustice to him and what he has done for this country over the years, and how he has built this party. And he brought me on in 2010, and he saw it in me since then. And so I thank him for that confidence, and I am very happy that the party is continuing to grow. We've maintained our 5 seats with even more votes this time. And so we're showing that we're more all around than others may think. Others joined up, they teamed up, and they still didn't make their goal of 8 seats. And today, we are now facing a new government with a minority again of 8, and it's sad to me, because initially everyone was talking about a broad national government, and then as broad as possible, and even after the informateurs did their investigations, they saw that it would be possible if egos could be left behind. And I must say that during these negotiations, which were a maiden voyage for me, because I have tagged along in some of the discussions, before, and voice my opinion as well, but to actually lead these discussions, it was a first time. And I don't think anything could prepare you for it 100%. You just got to roll with the punches and duck and weave as they come. But I thought we were well on our way to making that broad 12 or 13 or 14 government. And in the end, it didn't turn out to be that way. And yeah, it's really interesting how politics works in St. Martin. We can say one thing on Monday and then do something else on Friday, and the majority of the people just sit back and accept it.
But you know, as a new leader of the National Alliance, you're popular. The people like you. That's a good thing to start off with. But at the same time, I sense you're taking everything quiet. You know, I say this because most of the time, the National Alliance is a very vocal party. We have this announcement made by the UD and the Christian Party, and I think you're very quiet. Is there a reason for that?
Well, you see, we were in very intense discussions to form a government, and it continued to prolong. I ended up leaving the island, but we were still in discussions and was awaiting to be able to, you know, whether we would sign on or not sign on or whatever the case may be. We were talking Christian Party, UD, and National Alliance, which would have been 13 seats for a very broad government. I really felt that we were getting there. And so at this moment, like when it actually formed, I was off island. And I felt that I would wait until I returned to voice my opinion. So that's why when you called, I thought it was a very good opportunity to start there. I also heard this morning that the leader of the UD made certain statements, and so one or two of them need clarifying, I believe, because we did have very good and open discussions. I think the National Alliance and, you know, the thing that for me was very, very much uncertain was, am I dealing with one party, two or three in the UD? That remained unclear throughout the discussions, because we would have very good discussions with the party leader and myself, and he would feel, well, I think I'm going to have a hard time selling this to the others. Now, he would never define who the others were, but several of the other members of the former UP came to me and were like willing to discuss and let's do this, let's do this. So I am, you know, not sure who the us or the ones were within the UD who did not want to form a government with the National Alliance. I believe a lot of my own supporters were not necessarily for it. I can't say it was what I would think would be the best in a marriage of convenience, as you would say. But for the interest of the country, we were willing to make it work. And, you know, certain things being thrown out, we don't want to work with this person or that person on your list, you know, specifically saying that up front.
Did that happen?
Yes. I mean, how can you, in all honesty, refuse to work with elected members of parliament? William Marlin and Christopher Emmanuel have earned their votes.
Right.
And you can say what you want about how many votes were lost. I could point fingers from 2014 and before that, how many leaders lost points and lost votes besides William Marlin. But everybody always focused on the Silveria Jacobs and William Marlin dynamic and that I was passing him. But I've seen many other parties in the past, even before I got into politics, where number 2s, 3s, and wherever scored higher than the leaders and never got a chance to lead.
But it happened with the DP in the last.
And it happened with the DP over and over again. So, you know, I take it in stride. I know they hold the National Alliance to a much higher level of judgment than other parties, and it's a good thing because we've lived up to what the people expect of us. We work hard, and I believe we have been the most integral party to date. And so I think it's sad for St. Martin that we're not able to take part in the rebuilding of St. Martin, but as elected members of parliament, that is what the election was about. I think if anybody was following, I was really pushing for that we would focus on some type of electoral reform where the people would also vote for ministers.
Yeah.
Because I think that is something that the people of St. Martin feel cheated by when non-elected members, a majority of them, end up being in the executionary body of government. And, you know, they're like, I didn't vote for these people. those are not the persons I chose, because even though it's a parliamentary elections, the people are choosing also for the people who they want to see in government. And, and so I said to the leader of the UD, I said, the people chose you as number one and myself as number two. And I think we should really, between government and parliament, have some type of an equal sharing of the power and let us get this thing done for the country of St. Martin. And he agreed with me, but he could not get his entire party to agree. And his party is a coming together of two different parties plus an independent member when they threw down the government.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, things happen how they are supposed to happen, Oral. I gave it my all. Just like how he had to go back to his people, I have to go back to mine. And that they're now out there on the radio saying that, oh, she's still not the leader because William decided it wasn't going to happen, is totally not true. I have a party, but I have taken over the leadership in such a way that I include input from my other candidates from the board. We have discussions, etc. And so we have been having the discussions all along. And I've kept them abreast. And this is how it turned out, People keep telling me, but just agree to what they want. Just agree.
So wait a minute. What is it that the others wanted that you would not agree to then?
Well, let me just see. Initially, we were, after all the discussions on what objectives we wanted to achieve and where we could see a party that was mostly seen as a social party, the National Alliance, and the UD or the former UP and DP being more towards capitalistic business, big business, etc., how we would make it work. And in that discussion with both the leader as well as MP Frankie Myers, it was made clear that we are willing to make those things work. My problem, or the problem that the National Alliance has had over the years, is that big business has thrived and other types of businesses have thrived, but the majority of the people of St. Martin have not seen the benefit of that. So the social aspects have not kept up with the economic developments. So I said, if we can find a proper balance where businesses can thrive, but the people can also live like they are important in their own country, then that is what we should do. And in that discussion, it appeared that the then leader agreed with me, that we can move forward. This discussion that came up now about assisting hotels, that came up. No number was mentioned, but it came up. And I'm like, I believe that we would have to look at it at a case-by-case basis, and if a hotel can prove that they need assistance to be able to stay alive, to be able to stay viable in the market and continue to employ the St. Martin people that we need to keep employed so that the economy could continue to turn around and that everyone can benefit, then if necessary, yes, we can look at some type of a soft loan. But no amount was ever mentioned. Now, we haven't even gotten an idea of what amount of money would be needed to finalize the social recovery of St. Martin. The National Recovery Plan has not been promoted, has not been put forward. This was something our National Alliance-led government had put in place. The new government came in, took over, and we haven't had a proper update on it. So you might feel that we're being quiet, but we are preparing to call government to Parliament to answer to these types of questions, because we can run a media campaign, but I believe the campaign for elections are over, and the House of Parliament is where government has to answer to the people of St. Martin, and we as the representatives of the people have to ask those questions. So, we have been preparing a meeting request. There are meetings this week, but our request did not go in as yet. I had hoped it would go in last Friday. So hopefully it will go in by tomorrow, and that we can, or Wednesday, and we can get a date as to when government will come and answer to what's going on in government. Because I believe the media, the general population, everybody has gone quiet in terms of what is actually happening.
But I think everybody's people are a little surprised that the National Alliance is not a part of the government. That's understandable. But at the same time, I've been around a long time, and I know the National Alliance are a very vocal party, even their supporters. And even the supporters now are very, very quiet. I've never seen nothing like this in all my years, and this show is going to be 30 years next year, and I've been doing television for over 34 years, I've never seen nothing like this. So quiet in the National Alliance. I don't know if it's because they have a lady president or...
That can be the reason, sir. No, we are definitely, as I said, we were right in the middle of negotiations when this thing happened. So
they never informed you?
We were informed after.
But let me ask this before.
We were informed after. I got a message around 1 o'clock in the morning, but I'd already seen it on the news, seen the video, etc. But then is when I got the message.
But you know what? Is it true? Is it true that I've heard this from many people that the formation was going good, but the number 2 on the UD, there was some issue there with the National Alliance?
Well, that's what I'm saying. I don't know who the entities were, but I do believe that certain members of the UD had serious problems in dealing with the National Alliance because William Marlin was still involved. And that is ridiculous. That is totally ridiculous because we as a National Alliance can say we have problems with the number 2, with the number 4, with the number, I don't know who all the numbers were, but people that we sat with in a government, the last government before the one that is there now, the interim government, and we were working. There was a government that was working for the people of St. Martin. Yes, we had a disaster, but some people forget that it was a catastrophic hurricane that we went through for the first time in our lives. And there is no template for dealing with catastrophes. A catastrophe is a catastrophe wherever it hits. And we as St. Martin were the first within the Caribbean islands to start the recovery process as fast as we did. We were much further ahead in the recovery of electricity, water, even though we were complaining as certain persons didn't get what they had to get, we were still moving. And the group of people or the minister that was responsible for that remained. It's an oxymoron. Only in St. Martin these things can happen. And when we're sitting now and talking about the formation of government, I never said to them, I don't want to deal with Emily. I never said to them, I don't want to deal with Sarah. I told them I would have a problem because we've sat in governments with them before, and they have constantly been the ones to break government. You know, so that's why we were talking now when we got down to talking about portfolios and what we would have. I felt as a party of 7 and a party of 5, with the highest vote getter and the second highest vote getter, that it would be an equal division if at least one party got the prime ministership and the other the chair. And on that point, we never agreed.
Really?
We never agreed. In the end, we were willing to settle back on that, but then every time there was another change, this have to change, and then that have to change. And then at the end of the day, are we begging to be in government? Are we a party of value to be in government? Then if that's not how you feel, and it is such a hard sell to the rest of your members, be it MP Sarah Westcott Williams or whomever, then I told them, deal with the alternative. Whatever the alternative is, if you think that it's better for the country, then you do that.
Simplify it there for me a little bit because I want my audience to understand what's happening. You're saying that you felt, as leader of the second largest party, that there should be you should either have the prime ministership or the president of parliament?
That's what I felt.
Okay.
That's what I felt that the party deserved.
And they didn't agree?
And they didn't agree.
What's the problem there?
I really don't know. That question you would have to ask the UD. I really don't know. From where I'm sitting, and then when I saw some of the proposal that came forward, I said it to him, I said, I wouldn't want to be in your shoes because you do have quite some chickens to feed. So there are a lot of different people that have to be pleased when you put two parties together. And so, you know, who's waiting to come in when this one move out and what's not, all of that came into play. Of course, my party, as having 5 seats, you have great prospects. The next in line for us also was MP Samuel, what's her name? Anna Rabes Richardson and Ludmilla Duncan York. Those are the next 3 in line. If you look at our top 8 vote getters, they are viable candidates to have, had we gotten the 8 seats, to have sat and done a great job for St. Martin, whether on the executive branch or in the parliament branch. And, you know, it's hurtful that they're not able to come in, those that are there. But our party is growing, and I have no fear that with the way we will work for the people of St. Martin, the people will see that heart and soul for the people of St. Martin is with the National Alliance. No other party has ever proven that.
So
So whether we in or we out,
Yeah.
we will represent the people of St. Martin. And we will continue to grow because we are a growing party. We are seeing a resurgence of young professionals joining the party. We are having membership drives. We will be continuing to do different things throughout the year that we are not only existing for elections. And then when people compare that to a party that joined together just for this election, and when asked, one of the leaders said, for now, then they must know where that party is going.
they could only have one leader in the party.
And that's another thing. At the end of the day, if you do the analysis, we are the biggest party because the UP and the DP came together with to get us 7 seats, but they brought in Mr. Brown Bill, and that would have made 8 seats, and then they should have been good for 8. But if you turn around and you look at it, it's either 4-3 or 3-4 or 3-3-1,
Yeah.
and we have 5. So I feel that as a party that really existed before this election, we are still the strongest party in this, in representing the people, and we will stick together and do as we promised and represent them.
How you feel now about the recovery process so far?
I feel like we're being left in the dark. I mean, this government was thrown down because the aid was not coming to St. Martin fast enough, because the Dutch was being disrespected, because aid, I don't know what else they could have said. Roofs wasn't going on fast enough. Roofs still have not started to go on. I keep hearing it's coming soon, it's coming soon, it's coming soon. I think we need to be honest with the people of St. Martin and say what exactly is the problem. We had budgeted for recovery, even within our budget. Yes, we will, and we approved a deficit budget where, yes, we would run in the red, you know, if we do not get the aid.
Yeah.
And Holland has promised the aid. So for 2017's budget, there was already budget set aside to assist social services, to increase when people lose their jobs and then they come in and register for social assistance.
Yeah.
We expected increases in those and we budgeted for it. I don't think we budgeted enough, but we had to be realistic in our budgeting as well. So how much of the national recovery will rely on the 550 million? What other avenues have been sought to get this money, seeing as the dilly-dallying continues? Who is talking for St. Martin to the World Bank? We had established that there would be set up a project bureau. Those are the types of questions that we will be asking in Parliament. Where is that project bureau?
It's not there?
Have you heard an announcement, sir? I have not heard it. You know, so the National Alliance will be heard. We've come out of negotiation mode. We swore in. We were still in negotiation mode. We had assumed all of that would have been done by the time we swore in. It wasn't. I had to leave the island for family purposes. I am back. My party is ready to go, and you will be seeing and hearing more from us.
Now, it's taken a while for this government still to form with all their ministers and so forth.
Well, that won't happen anytime soon either. But they're already in, so what reason would be there to rush? The same people, except for the Christian Party, are back in. So what's the rush? That's how I see it now.
I guess the people now are
Like there's a dilly-dally going on, and it's acceptable because the same party that was there when they threw down government is back with the addition of the Christian Party. And I also want to hear from the people of St. Martin what they think about the fact that the Christian Party, who came out hard talking about a national government, are so easily ready to settle for an 8-seat majority of a government. I find that also very, very, very strange.
So you find they went back on their word?
Well, that's up for the people to judge them. From my perspective, I don't think they've held the same story that they have held before. And you know, I try to keep it as amicable as possible post-election because I think a lot of very harsh things were said during the election, which even broached a subject on whether NA or NUD could get back together because of all that was said back and forth.
That's politics.
It's politics, and it's a difficult thing, but now that I'm in my 8th year of it, I'm starting to get it, as the young people would say, but it's not nice. It's really not nice, and you can say let bygones be bygones, but when it becomes personal, and it was really personal against the former leader of this party, and that person, Mr. William Marlin, the Member of Parliament elected, has done everything with the interests of people of St. Martin, and I believe that he deserves honor for that, and not the disgrace that they have tried to heap upon him, because the same issues he faced, they are facing now. So now what? So the Dutch is still not allowing St. Martin to move forward. They're still not having as much say as they should have, and now we have to live with the decisions that we took back then, okay, to accept the conditions under which this aid has been disseminated. In 1995, we didn't have all of this. We had a project bureau that was set up and funneled the money. The money never came to the government of St. Martin in 1995, and that is what William was saying all along. So in 1995, we had an organization. You do not want the USONA to do that this time, then let us set up an organization that would do that. We have the St. Martin Development Fund. They are getting some funds channeled to help with senior homes, etc. They could have been used also as an entity or expanded to deal with the whole recovery of St. Martin. But I don't believe that we're being authentically respected within the kingdom, and that is something we as a country have to deal with. We have to deal with it seriously. Not to say that we want to kick them in the face and we already accepted assistance, because all of the initial assistance did come from the Dutch government, and we're grateful for that. But do not continue to dangle, the carrot in front of the faces of the people of St. Martin.
But it looks like we have a new ministry in St. Martin right now. I mean, when you look at the development bank and how they're operating, that's like a whole new ministry onto themselves.
I've heard about it, but I don't have the details, so I will have to get that from government in Parliament, because I've heard some stories that were really out there. And if we don't stand up and show ourselves strong enough to represent this country at all levels, then we will have taken several steps back and lost quite a bit of our autonomy.
That's the reason why I said what I just said in the terms of a new ministry in that government building, which is quite alarming, because in the end, we, the people of St. Martin, will have to pay the price for that, and our children will in the long run, if we're not careful in how that is managed and controlled at the time.
Yeah, well, I keep hearing statements like the Dutch do this and the Dutch do that and the Dutch do the other, but members of Parliament, the Dutch, when they came here and refused to meet with former PM William Marlin and insisted that he resign before they came, they said they were following the orders of the Parliament of St. Martin. So when they're calling the Dutch, at the end of the day, the Dutch had no say in sending home William Marlin. The Dutch had no say in sending home this government. That was totally done by our own people. So we put us in this position, and now we're crying about it, because now we have to deal with it. And while we as a National Alliance were willing to work together for the interests of St. Martin, we don't feel that we were getting any type of respect where that is concerned. And if you have so many problems to work with elected members of Parliament, not even others that would come in as a result, without even looking in your own backyard, and I think you have a lot of guts. And now you must show the people of St. Martin how you're going to do it with aid, and we will show that we will be our opposition to contend with.
All right, when we come back, we'll continue speaking with MP Silveria Gibbes. She's leader of the National Alliance, and we will be taking your calls at 5422170. That's 5422170 for the leader of the National Alliance.
At SXM, we're taking travel and tourism to new heights. Here we boast spacious check-in areas, 10 passport control points, comfortable departure lounges, and an exciting new airport mall. Finally, there's an airport in the Caribbean that takes your travel plans as seriously as you do. Princess Juliana International Airport.
In case you've just joined us, you're watching Oral Gibbes Live. We're coming to you live here from World Star Studios at Amsterdam Shopping Center. My guest this evening is leader of the National Alliance and Member of Parliament, Silveria Gibbes. We're taking your call at 54-221-7054, 221-70 if you have a question or comment for the leader of the National Alliance. So this is going to be the most powerful opposition in the history of St. Martin.
I guess that's what, listen, when the people, you know, we bicker why another coalition government, but this is the way the people voted. You asked earlier if I was disappointed. Yes, I was disappointed because up to the Friday before election, I had a very good sentiment from the ground that the people wanted a change and they wanted the National Alliance back, and they felt that what had been done was an injustice, not just to him, but to a government that had been working, and that they would punish the ones that did it. Several people came to me who I didn't even know and told me this, and so I was disappointed. But still, when I look at it and we do the run of the numbers and we look at the situation we were in, disgruntled voters, a lot of people saying they're not going to vote, I think that we had such a turnout was still a wonder.
Yeah. But you had the second largest amount of votes.
Yes, I did.
But
I think it was almost 898 or something like that. It was. I had hoped for more as well, you know, but I wasn't able to do the type of campaigning that I've done in the past either, due to the fact that I'd taken over the leadership and I was really focused on the party until maybe the last week or the last week and a half, and then I went on a lot of different radio programs, etc., and got to promote the party. A lot of people met me after certain interviews and were very happy and pleased, and they're looking forward to seeing us back in government. And even though we come down to a coalition situation, one party who had stated that they wanted a national government from the get-go, stating outright they're not working with another party, that threw the whole possibility for a national government out the window, one. Two, it also blocked any coalition that didn't include UD. So at the end of the day, the people voted in larger numbers for United Democrats than they did for the National Alliance. And so, yes, they took point on the negotiations. I respect them for being able to do that. And I really had hoped that we would have a broader based government. I really had hoped that we could show the people that we could rise above petty politics and going after politicians for whatever reason, and work for the people of St. Martin. And I have learned over the years not to hold grudges, and so I take it and leave it as it is. I'd say, you know, God knows best, and maybe as a people we need to go through a couple more years of suffering before we can actually find the promised land. Like Moses wandered with his whole group for 40 years, you know, 400 years or whatever it was. It was a long time to get to a place that they could have gotten to much quicker. So as a people, we have to decide what we want. We voted for this. We have to decide now what we want. And this party will always continue to represent you with passion and integrity. That is for sure. We will always continue to do that. And when we call government to Parliament, it is to get the answers to questions that you are out there asking on the street and that we as the people of St. Martin deserve to know. You know, where are we with our recovery? Where are we with assisting the people of St. Martin? Where are we with the rebuilding of schools? Where are we with the jail? Where are we with all these other things that have to happen besides hotels being built? Yes, where are we economically? How many businesses are still out of business? How many have not been able to get the financing because they don't have enough insurance coverage? Because it is not only the big hotels that need that assistance. What about businesses in the business areas, in the main business areas? What about giving entrepreneurs opportunity to start businesses? Because if we go back after Luis, many people who lost their jobs, they are entrepreneurs today. Or after any drop, when one bank closed or when one bank changed hands and certain people were laid off, these people were able to start up their own businesses. You know, so a hurricane is an opportunity to me, for more St. Martin people to grow. So you can't only say you're going to recover big hotels. What about small hotels? What about boutique hotels? What about cultural activities that can attract tourists as well? How are we diversifying the economy to attract a different type of tourist, not a tourist that will just land, walk around and leave, and not actually spend money. We need people to come to the country and spend money. Construction will boom for quite a while, and that will generate funds, and who have gone into that will generate funds, but then it will slow down again after a while. So we have to really, to me, diversify the economy, be very serious about that, collaborate with the French side on a greater level, because what affects Dutch side affects French side and vice versa. And we were very much on our way to doing that. So, I wish the government much success in getting that done.
So if you have to list, say, 3 main concerns you have now for St. Martin, what will it be?
Well, the economic recovery is one. That is number one. So that means making sure businesses are able to recover and people are able to stay employed. And then part of the economic recovery, I feel, would be empowering entrepreneurs, empowering people to get into their own businesses. That was a strong part of St. Martin's culture in the past. And then we started working for people. And that culture maintained for a long time. But you see a lot more now of our young professionals, they're coming back and they're like, but I can't find a job. I can't find a job. Then create the job. That's what I feel we should be teaching our people to do. Create. Because especially in this new world, this century, where the internet, right after the storm, the internet was back up. I know someone who went into internet business, e-business, and doing very well. They're doing very well, working out of their home. So we have to look for opportunities to grow on a global level and find market not just locally on St. Martin in the region, but internationally. And I think education has to meet that need. We're working toward that, making education meet this millennial child. A lot will have to be invested. You can't only invest in business. You have to invest in the people. So economic recovery and social recovery. Those are my 2, and a lot falls within that.
How you feel about the ongoing problem with the landfill in Phillipsburg?
That problem, I believe, again, we as a government were on our way to solve. And I guess part of the reason government fell was they didn't want it solved that way. So I look forward to see what the new solutions will be, because every time there is a solution ready to come out, there is a breaking of government, and we have to start to, we must stop this. We must stop this. This hazard has become out of order in the past 3 years, and it's not getting any better. I believe we as a country, we as a people have to also start taking responsibility for what we throw away and promote reusing, reducing our waste, and recycling as well.
Hold that thought, let me take a call for you. Oral Gibbes Live, your own caller. Hello?
Good night.
Good night.
Audrey.
Good
night, Audrey.
Good night.
I'd like to tell MP
Silveria.
take it easy. Have a disappointment. It's for good. So she's looking sweet, lovely. Maybe if she had been, she'd be more stressed and get more going here faster than she's supposed to get it. So enjoy your town side. Wait, God is going to do what he has to do. So don't bother.
Thank you so much.
Take care. Bye.
Thank you so much, caller. Thank you. That is the attitude I've taken as well, that all is in God's hands. And the work of government is a lot of stress. Yes, it is. And I was suffering both physically and emotionally with it at times. But it is work that I love to do. And I will continue to do that same passionate work in Parliament. We need to show the people of St. Martin that Parliament can work.
But I've noticed a change in you, and it's actually for the better. Your approach, the way you're speaking, you really have assumed the position of a leader. I mean, so
like, I would hope that the other parties would respect it as such as well. But I'm happy that you are seeing it, Oral. I have truly taken over the party, and I'm getting a lot of cooperation from, as well as the seniors, as well as the youngers, and you're going to see a whole different National Alliance coming out. Thank you.
You're welcome. Take that call. Oral Gibbes Live, you're on caller. Hello? You there, caller? Hello. Oh, one ran away. Yeah, it's amazing because I've interviewed you many times before, and that's good to see that you've been able to make that transition so early on, because it's very important that you do that, and you're doing that, so that's great. So when you look at St. Martin today, and you drive around the island, a lot of people don't realize how many people are suffering.
Yes.
A lot of people are suffering.
When you leave and come back, you see, I do see progress. I have seen progress, like even back in November, I had to leave the island for about a week. And when I came back, I saw the progress, and it had rained, and the island was green again. And now that I've gone and come back, the island is brown again.
Yeah.
It's amazing how quickly that changes. So we're going through a dry spell, and the rain is barely doing anything. And I think we need to address the individual persons that still need the help.
Okay, I'll take a call. Oral Gibbes Live, you're on caller. Hello?
Yes, good evening.
Good evening.
Silveria Jacob.
Good evening. How are you?
Go ahead.
Silveria,
Yes.
we know you could do it. You know who's speaking. We know you got it in you, and do it. This is your time to shine. God bless you, and you go on with what all you have to get on with. Because God is backing you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And I think it's important, also as a female leader, I want to thank especially the females who came out and supported all female candidates, but I especially felt a lot of female support in this election. And I think the people of St. Martin want a different type of leadership. And that's what I thought, would have happened. And it didn't happen. But everything has to happen for a reason.
Got people who pray for you and want you to be there.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I hope to be able to live up to all of your expectations.
All right, bye-bye. Have a nice evening, Earl.
Okay, good night. Thank you.
Thank you. This type of a reaction I get on the ground all the time. I get it in messages, on Facebook, in private. You also have people who, are natural haters, of course. But it comes with the territory. What I would like the people of St. Martin is to stay away from the personal attacks. Yeah. And it really takes broad shoulders, but at the end of the day, we're all human beings. And when women attack each other, and you can only say the negative, I can sit and talk about the negative of the people I'm in opposition to every day. But I don't choose to, because you're living in a negative atmosphere, and then where are you going with that? At the end of the day, all of us are elected. We have to work for the people. And whether we choose to work together or in opposition, that is what will have to happen. But I think maturity, what I've heard over and over through this campaign, is looking for maturity. And I think we can set that example in Parliament. We can definitely set that example. And if need be, and we get into government, we can set it there as well. But the people who are doing the work, the civil servants, the people on the street, all of us, is part of this political atmosphere. Not only the ones who are on a list. Everybody is involved. And sometimes we're always looking at what that one is doing and what that one is doing, but we need to look at the fingers pointing back at ourselves. So that's why when you ask about the landfill and the dump, I started doing some sorting at home, etc. And, I turn around, I'm like, if government isn't going to move forward with it, that's an opportunity for business, because recycled products make money. So if government isn't going to get its act together to start sorting, not even at the homes or whether, certain individuals with a piece of land, with whatever the case may be, opportunity, can start a sorting facility, can start taking in plastics and aluminum and glass and cardboard and packaging it and shipping it out for money. That's another business opportunity. All of the scrap metal that's all over the place, that can be sold. Garbage can be sold.
And we produce a lot of garbage.
We produce a lot of garbage. Yeah. We produce a whole lot of garbage.
Yeah. The integrity chamber is coming, and that is something that...
It's coming already. Let's not make it sound as if the fall of government and that whole thing brought the integrity chamber.
It's coming from long time.
The integrity chamber was approved in 2015.
But you all voted against it.
I, Silveria Jacobs, as a member of parliament, voted against it, along with the National Alliance at the time. Right. However, when we got into government, it was agreed upon by the majority of parliament at the time, you have to execute it. We didn't want to execute it in the way that St. Martin loses all control, and therefore we put forward a proposal where the chamber members would be, St. Martin would have a greater choice in who those members were. And that was turned down, that was slashed. And during that period when we had a deadline, so the deadline we had to submit the new integrity chamber was set prior to Hurricane Irma.
Right.
And now even though Hurricane Irma hit, there was no extension of that deadline. Like there was no compassion for the people of St. Martin to let's focus on rebuilding and worry about integrity chamber later. I question the Netherlands' stance on an integrity chamber must be in place to be able to establish a development fund, a fund to assist for the recovery of St. Martin. We have so many checks and balances already in place.
Well,
we already have such a strong presence of Dutch where the prosecution is concerned. Anybody that's doing wrong on St. Martin, prosecution, do your job.
But if you listen to members of the Dutch Parliament speak about St. Martin,
it's not a majority though.
but still,
Who
they're the
speaks
ones
the
that
loudest
speak
is who you're hearing.
Yeah.
But it's just, and when people come about the 2 or 3 parliamentarians that are anti-Caribisch Nederland and constantly saying negative things about us down here, they don't speak for the 100 and something people who are sitting in parliament. That would be like, say for instance, we had a 14-seat government and the one person that was out supporting government is the one that the Netherlands is listening to. We need to be realistic. The persons that are speaking of their personal opinions. They have strong tendencies anti-Caribbean. But even as we speak, they're also being ridiculed in their own country. There is a growing trend of support for the Caribbean part of the Netherlands, the Kingdom of the Netherlands in Holland. So we, I feel, just need to garner that support. We have a lot of educated Caribbean persons, St. Martin people in the Netherlands, and we need to utilize them more. We need to, if they're not going to come back, be able to use them as our mouthpieces up there as well.
You know, a lot of people are predicting that the next 2 to 3 years is going to be extremely difficult for St. Martin. How do you feel about that?
Well, that would totally depend on how things hammer out in the next few weeks.
So you're saying that
I am really, how you say, it's important for us to know where we are now. We are just saying things without real data, without real statistics. I want to know what is the case. When we were in government, we were called, when we were demissionaire, to say what the future should look like. And, you know, some people even feel, why bother call this government is going to change within 6 to 8 weeks? Fine. It could take 3 months too. We don't know. The recovery of St. Martin can't wait on that. Even while we were in the negotiation process, I was busy jotting down the questions that I want answered. When I met with the UD leader, I am asking those questions. I heard him asking those questions in public, sending in pieces to the paper and asking those questions as well. And it's a government that he supports. So I expect that the people of St. Martin need to hear from the sitting government, not in radio ads, you know, that sound political, but in answering to the people of St. Martin, in your press conferences every week, in coming to Parliament and telling us the status of the development, the status of the World Bank situation, the status of the people, how many people now, as compared to 3 months or 6 months ago, who are homeless or who are without jobs or who are receiving social aid, how have they been assisted to move from that situation to a situation of positivity? That is what I think that we as members of Parliament have to hold a government accountable to. And once we hold them as a government accountable for it, they will have to execute. They will have to execute. I heard the UD leader say this morning, even though it's only an 8-seat majority, he would be hard-pressed to expect that anybody would vote against something that is good for government. Well, all I'm going to say to that is it got to be very transparent. It got to be very, very clear what we're voting for. You understand? Because, of course, we want to vote for what is good for this country. As a matter of fact, many of the things that are being executed are stuff that were in our governing program, a governing program that was supposed to go until 2020. So it was in the second year. And you can spin back the clock. You can probably move strategies because now we're in a recovery period after a catastrophic hurricane or a couple of hurricanes. But we have to prepare for the hurricane season coming up in the next couple of weeks as well. So where are we? Where are we with the people who are still with tarpaulin over their heads? Where are we with getting things in place to prepare for the coming season, which they expect to be also quite a strong season? So I'm concerned, not just about the coming years, I'm concerned about right now in terms of what's going on St. Martin. And we will hopefully get the answers to those, and then based on what the answers are, then I'll be able to say what the next few years will look like.
All right. We're coming right back right here with the leader of the National Alliance, MP Silveria Gibbes.
At Nagico, the things that matter to you matter to us. Like knowing you're fully covered after an accident, the security of your home and everything in it that means so much to you. And knowing that even when the weather does its worst, you and your family are covered. At Nagico, we're about much more than just insurance. We're about the big things and the small things that mean everything.
Welcome back to Oral Gibbes Live. I'm here speaking with the leader of the National Alliance, a member of Parliament. This is Gibbes, and we'll take your calls at 5422170, 5422170. You know, just before the break you mentioned it, but I can say this, I know it's going to be difficult, and it's not going to get easier as July, August, September goes along. And some people will say, wow, in a way, it's good that the National Alliance is not there. How you see that?
To be dealing with a mess. Listen, once you knew this going into the election, so I think anybody that didn't want to be part of the hard work that is to come wouldn't have postulated themselves.
So you don't mind being a part?
Hard work, I never ran from hard work. I come from a poor background where you had to work hard all the time. And that's why, for me, not working, I feel strange. I feel weird. You know, I had a long time working with the campaign, et cetera, et cetera. Then we were busy with negotiations. I went, visited my son, and I came back, and I am ready to work. I need to work. I need to feel productive. So you can be productive on the executive branch, where you are. To me, when I was a minister, I was working 7 days a week. 12-hour days, you know, would be the short day. You know, so it was a very tough portfolio that I held, and it requires a lot of greetings and going out to the public and attending several events outside of reading reams and reams of documents and taking decisions on a daily basis. So I know it's much more intense at the executive branch, but I am willing to work just as hard in Parliament, and I don't feel good unless I'm working. So yes, it may be for some, they say, yes, as a National Alliance, sit back and let them do what they got to do. But the sit back is not going to be a walk in the park in that sense, because we will still have to do our research, we will still have to bring forward suggestions, motions, etc. And we as a National Alliance will do that. We will question every single thing, because I believe before any integrity chamber, the Parliament of St. Martin has to question and has to check the integrity of decisions being made by government.
You know, there's so many things to be done, but when you look at, for example, a lot of people complain now that they're going through some difficult times, and when they go to conduct business at the government building, they're turned away because they're wearing a flip-flop, or they're... How you see this as a political party leader? Because
as a political party leader that has personally taken flack for my own attire, in case you didn't know, I believe that rules are made for a reason, and we need to adjust and amend rules as needed as well. Sometimes rule has outlived their necessity, and especially during a certain period where people are going through hardship and you putting those type of restrictions on there. I know that we did have leniency after the storm for quite a period of time. I understand that they've become quite strict now with the dress code, but I think that's another issue that needs to be discussed, and we need to know exactly, you know, what this dress code is, and probably bring it to Parliament and you know, tear it apart, debate it, and see what is really the best for the country. I mean, I think people forget we live in the tropics. We live in the tropics. And in the United States, I remember the First Lady, Mrs. Michelle Obama, taking a lot of flack for going sleeveless at official functions. But after a while, it was acceptable. And as a female, when you go to try and buy formal wear, the dresses are all sleeveless as well. So you're forced to buy cardigans and jackets and walk around in St. Martin where it's 80, 90, and almost 100 degrees. And for protocol, we need to address what is really the reason behind a rule and adjust the rule, just like in schools, just like in classrooms, just like in your home. When you're raising your children, you don't have the same rules from 10 years ago today, the exact same rules. You may have the same moral standard, but you can adjust the rules to fit the times that we are in.
Well,
so I believe it needs to be looked at.
Well, we out of time. We just have about 30 seconds for you in closing.
Well, first of all, let me say thank you for having me here on the program. It's been quite a long time, and it's always a pleasure for me to share my views and ideas with the listenership of the Oral Gibbes Live Show. I would like to thank again, through your venue, all of those who came out and supported Silveria Jacobs and the National Alliance in this last election. And I promise you that we will continue to represent you to the best of our ability. The people of St. Martin will be represented, whether we are in or out of government. Thank you so much, Oral, and thank you to the people of St. Martin. Have a happy and safe carnival.
And thank you for coming in, and I want to wish you much success, and feel free to call on us anytime, because I think the opposition needs to have a voice, and
we will.
We're always here for you, all right?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And that's it. Good night. And that's it for now. See you next time. Till then, good night. Take care. Bye.